Yeah, just a quick question. I'm just curious. Why does India have such, or did India have such extreme diversity? I mean, were all cultures that way, and India is just kind of held on to it longer, or is there more
Well,
to it?
I think that there's a few reasons for this. One is that if you look at old maps of the world, especially maps starting from Eastern Europe and Russia and going all the way to Vietnam and Indonesia, you can see that India lies in this place where there was a lot of different cultures, different tribes, different peoples that were continually going through. India was also the land of milk and honey. Throughout the ancient world, wherever you go, India is known as a land of great wealth. And people have always been coming to India to acquire some of this great wealth, and in other instances coming to acquire the ancient knowledge of India, because India is also a very, very old place, which contributes to diversity. Tribes come, peoples come, situations arise, and time goes on. So this is the nature of India, I think forever, is this nature of diversity.
Babaji, isn't it also because of the orality of India that they resisted kind of one text fits all type of situation, and that the stories were locative? Each individual town or village had their own, favorite expression of a deity. There wasn't one deity fits all type of thing, and because they had so many different languages and so many different stories that were very specific to the culture of that small area, that they didn't kind of turn into a big kind of unified soup or something.
That's true, but the thing that I want you to remember is that most of the world looked like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
This was not India at all.
But I'm saying that they resisted more so. There was more orality that was, and still maybe even today, there's still more of a oral tradition, say, in India, even though it's getting smaller and smaller, than probably a lot of other places in the world, other than other indigenous cultures where oral tradition is still very strong.
I would say that is more true, let's say, in the last 500 to 1,000 years, but not even that long a period of time. That for example, in many of the neighboring countries on both sides to India today, I mean on the eastern side, you have Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam. These were all oral cultures until very, very, very recently. Very recently. You go to the north, Tibet and Central Asia, oral cultures until this past century, basically. And then in the Middle East, of course, you had the written cultures of the Quran that and other texts that spread, but I would say that there was probably a huge amount of people that were never able to read the Quran, and basically were even until recently and even now are involved in oral traditions. I would guess, in fact, I'm going to ask Peter maybe to comment briefly on this, what he thinks, how oral the Islamic tradition is even today. Peter, can you say anything on that?
Yeah. You know, I mean, what means Islamic tradition? There are hundreds of different traditions from Morocco to Malaysia, and they're all different. So I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on in all these different places.
Yeah, so I mean, what really we're seeing, and the reason that we're starting to talk about our assumptions is because we're using post-Enlightenment assumptions, we're using Orientalist assumptions to look at the world like this, breaking the world up into these monoliths, and thinking that these monoliths have some internal conformity, because this is really a falsehood, but it is a logical conclusion from the assumptions that we have in post-Enlightenment thinking. Let me say at this point, I don't want to forget to say this because I told you I would give you a reading list as we go along, and I want to suggest that all of you read a text, a book by Edward Said called Orientalism. And the reason I'm saying this is not so much because I want you to get the information of this book. And in fact, when I ask you to look at a particular book or a video or a film or something, it's usually different reasons why I'll do this. And it's rarely for the information contained in a text or a video. In the case of Orientalism, this book is referenced by almost anyone who talks about the subject. And even though I do believe it's a bit dated, I think it was published in what, 1984, something like 1984, that it, till today, people will either agree with Said or disagree with Said or call this text dated. But they'll refer to it in almost any conversation about these things. Because what Said basically does in this book is he takes a lot of the Enlightenment, post-Enlightenment assumptions, and he applies that to how we consider the Orient. Let me see, I wrote something down here. Yeah. So, the Orientalism of Said presents itself as a form of knowledge that is both different from and superior to the knowledges that the Orientals have of themselves. And I'm not going out on a moral limb here. I'm not saying that the Enlightenment was good or it was bad. I'm not saying that Orientalism is good or bad. What I'm saying is that there are these movements and structures of Western thought. The Enlightenment changed many things, and we must be aware of these changes. And Orientalism is specifically a way that we have learned to consider the other. In this case, the other being the cultures of the non-West, the non-Euro-America. Okay.